Welcome back to Paul UK Reefer. It's been 9 months since my last update. You ready to see the tank? Yes, so welcome back. Thanks to those of you who stayed subscribed and those of you who are new, welcome. Today I'm going to take you over an update on my tank. It's 18 months old now and it's a full 9 months since the last update. So I will take you through all of my parameters, all the dosing that I do, a list of the livestock, and then a zoom in on all the corals. And hopefully during that part I will insert pictures of them, how they were 9 months since you last saw them. So hopefully that will show the growth that we've had. Okay, so first I'm just going to cover the parameters that I run the tank at and what I dose to keep them there. It's an SPS tank with some LPS, so corals, so that obviously consumes extra minerals and trace elements, and they need to be supplemented in this tank. So I run my alkalinity around 8, calcium at 420, magnesium at 1350, nitrate at 10, and phosphate at around 0.07. All of them can fluctuate slightly, but alkalinity tends to be spot on the one that I try to retain in that position at all times to help with the growth. I've changed my dosing. I was dosing Reefer, which worked really well, until I came upon a video from the Reef Dork, and he was using a product called ATI Essentials Plus. Now you've got to be careful when you're looking for this, because there's also one called ATI Essentials Pro. So the Plus version comes in 2 bottles, which I'll show you in a second. One adds alkalinity, and the other one adds the calcium and magnesium and some trace elements. So it does exactly the same as the Reefer. It is in 2 parts, which is slightly different, but it comes with a massive benefit, and that is that it kicks your pH and boosts it. So it brings your pH in the tank up with the dosing, which is something that Reefer doesn't. So I felt like my pH always sat around 7.9, which isn't ideal. Dosing with this stuff has made it so that it runs pretty consistently at 8.1 through the peak of the day, sometimes 8.2. So nice little kick, and actually price wise it's slightly cheaper. So here's what the bottles look like. This is ATI Essentials Plus. Number 1, that has KH and a few of the other traces in there, and the other bottle that you get is number 2, which has calcium, magnesium and so on. So within them I'm dosing around 40 mils of the alkalinity and then slightly less on the magnesium one. So that all works really well. And then to keep my nitrates and phosphates in check, I tend to do a weekly water change with an auto water changer from Refloat that does about an 88 litre water change once a week, which is quite a lot, but it costs quite a bit in salt. But I find it keeps the tank solid. There's no algae ever, and it's really just settled in so beautifully, this tank. It's now on 18 months and it's absolutely just cruising beautifully. So everything grows when it goes in there, and it's exactly where you would want it from that perspective. So I've got a really good balance on there. So now we'll move on and I'll tell you a bit about the fish. Okay, since my last video, we removed quite a rowdy wrasse out of the tank. It's a Milanaris wrasse, and that used to pretty much boss the tank and tell everything off. And I also had a large orange spot rabbit fish, which also tended to fly around the tank and frag all the corals for me. So not the best choices if in hindsight, but you live and learn, don't you? So they've been sort of taken out and they've been replaced by a couple of other wrasses. So I've got an ornate wrasse and a leopard or / peacock wrasse, however you like to call it. That goes with the pair of clowns. They're like dark ones, I forget the name, not Black Storm, but something along them lines. They're hosting the Duncan coral and absolutely over the moon happy, laying eggs. I have a goby, and then up in the tangs, which you'll probably see swimming around here, we have a blue hippo tang, a yellow tang, and a fox-faced rabbit fish. So all was well with all of them fish, absolutely no problems. But in the last week, strangely, the yellow tang has started showing signs of being nipped. So I'm still trying to find out the culprit, but I think it might be the blue tang, because it's the sort of now it's turned into one of the most outgoing fish in the tank with the removal of the others. So as it's got a bit bigger, it may be time, if I spot it doing that to the yellow tank, it may be time for that one to move on to a bigger tank. I've got a few people who would definitely be interested in taking that off my hands, so it's probably time for an upgrade for that guy. But at the moment it's fine. I'm just conscious that this yellow tang we'll see is showing signs of being nipped, and it's not what I want for it, and it's a lovely fish. And so definitely of the two, because the other one's going to grow probably too big for the tank eventually, you would probably maybe look down that route. But I'm going to keep a close eye on it. Hopefully it might just be a period, but we'll see. So other than that, the fish are all seemingly very happy. The tank has really settled in, as I was saying before. I've got an urchin in there which does a great job of cleaning up a few snails and crabs and stuff like that, but literally there's never a shred of algae in it. The glass needs cleaning once every 4 days, and other than that, it's just do your maintenance when you need to. So it really is settled in lovely, and if I was going to redo this tank, I would do it exactly the same way when it comes to cycling and everything. So it's a path of success that's now proven for me. A little bit of a mixture of dosing all sorts of bacteria at the start and bringing over mature bio balls from another tank. So from that perspective, really, really good. Still loving it. It's now in a position where I can work quite hard and go away and have a tank sitter, just put some food in once a day. And other than that, it's pretty much, it goes all perfectly, all on its own. So that's been really good. I've obviously still got a controller on there, a Neptune Apex EL, that just keeps an eye on temperature and pH for me, and so on, and that can let me know if there's any sort of problems in the tank and send me a push notification. So that covers that. So let's get into this. I don't want this to be the most extremely long video and bore you all to death. What I'll do now is I'll take you over all the corals, try where I can to input a few images briefly on what they look like before, but happy to report, barring a couple that I might have moved out, they're all really grown on well, to the point now where I'm having to frag them back. So let's have a look at them. Okay, so here's the tank. I've got a lens on this just to cut the blue out a little bit, but we'll take it off at the end so you can see what it looks like with a bit more blue in. But yeah, happy to report it's really grown out. If I step back in the room, you can see corals from the other side of the room, which is my goal. I've got a mix of hard and soft corals, but yeah, the colours are starting to really look nice, and the size of the corals, they really are impacting. So when you walk into the room, you can see them straight away, and that's exactly what I wanted from this tank. So really, really happy. So starting left to right, you'll see straight away that the plating sections have probably trebled in size since the last video. The grafted one has come out beautifully with a lovely graft line right through the middle of it. That one, yeah, really looks good. The Postulopora above it's just slightly bigger, but not growing at huge rates. The two Monty plates below, the brown one or the red one has pretty much been overgrown by the others, and I'm kind of just letting nature take its course on that one. I'm not too fussed about the colour. I love the green one, so I'm just letting it happen, and I think what will happen is this will shade that one, but that may still come out, so I'll let them get on with it. But you can see it's really turning into a nice piece, the plate around it. You can see the stylos above. These were all planted from little tiny frags. So there's a rainbow one there, purple milker stylos there. They're all growing big. I've had to snip this back a couple of times. You'll see the growth patterns from the wave makers as well. So that's made way for a couple of nice acros, which I'll take you through in a minute. But just around here, at the back here, the war corals here. Been quite slow growing on this side compared to the other side, which I'll show you in a minute. But still beautiful corals right out of the way there. Really happy with them there. They look nice, just as a side view from when you're making a coffee. Before I go up to the acros, the rainbow acan, that's probably got 4 times the heads on it. It's a little bit puffed up because it's still quite early in the morning, so all these are not out in full force yet, which I probably should have waited for, but I was desperate to get a video out today. So yeah, it started with about 3 heads, and when that's fully puffed up, there's about 8 or 9 on it, so really good. The Monty digitata is just doing the most random growth pattern over the front here. It's kind of springing out from the front and going up, and I'm just letting them get on with it. I really like the idea that they go into web, and if there's a bit of warfare, I'm not that fussed as long as it's not shedding coral flesh. That zombie type Monty plate is kind of being covered up a little bit now. That's growing massive. You can see that was the original frag just in the middle there. It looks nice under blues, but it's being shrouded by this huge Montipora stellata. So if you remember back, there was tiny little frags of that and that. They're just growing huge now, and I'm just letting them get on with it. They're just kind of grow at their own rate. Some more Milka Stylo here, which is probably going to come out because it's kind of shading a little acro that I've got at the back there, and it's in the way of the barley slimer. You'll see on the top here we've got 4 different types of acro. The barley, for a starter, was one little tiny nub. That's now branching out wonderfully. It's growing kind of different arms there, as you can see. It's growing around this stylo, so I think if I snip the stylo back at least, it'll give it a bit more room. There's some really nice acros here. Most of these are from Prestige, Reef and Signature Frags, and they are now really basing on, as you can see, and starting to grow sort of fluffy new bits and pieces off them. So very, very, very slow growing, but the most rewarding corals in the industry. So yeah, these have taken over a year to get, probably 2 or 3 times the size. So but they're going really well. You can see here, this looks much better under blues. The green, God, I completely forgot the name of the the green's bird's nest. So that started really small, it's grown huge, really lovely pattern to it. And then you can make out the war coral below. That was the original frag there. It's grown huge. I'm sure that will be a problem long term. Probably shouldn't have put it there because it's going to end up wiping out anything in its path. But I think it's cool, and what will be will be. I want a natural reef. I want it to go and do what it's got to do. So it'd be interesting to see how that grows. It's slowed down a little bit now because it's quite shaded under there. See the scarlet hawkfish, which is one I forgot to mention earlier. There's a little bit of green Monty here, fragged off before, and I thought I'll put it in here because I had a bit of space, but it's not really taken off there. And there's Monty here and war coral there, so its days are numbered in there, but it's not a problem. Nice little plate there, it's going well. Candy canes kind of doubled in size, but not growing massively quick in here, which isn't a problem for me there because I kind of want that swim through. You can just see the nipped fins on that yellow tang, really not in good shape. So I'm going to keep a really close eye on what's doing that. Something tells me the older blue hippo there might be the culprit. Jack-o'-lantern lepto, really lovely, very, very slow growing, but gorgeous orange, especially under blues later on at night. We've got a bit of Montipora hirsuta here, and then there's another acro that's been growing on for ages over the back there. It's kind of spread rather than going up, and you can just see now, if I zoom down and around, there's loads of tiny little heads all coming out. So again, a very slow grower, but really loving watching it. Another signature frag here. This one started really small and it's growing into some beautiful branches out of that, but again, very slow grower, but gorgeous. And then good old forest fire digi. This thing has been fragged so many times by fish, it's unbelievable. It's come back more times than I can imagine, but it's growing in nicely actually. What I wanted to do though, there's a couple more additions to do to this tank. I'm going to move the Monty probably up here somewhere, and then here next to the Duncan, on this rock near the lovely hammer over there, which we'll go into, I'm going to put a couple of torches because I don't have any in this tank and I do love them. So there's probably just enough space here to get a couple of nice torches. So that's my next coral project. But flying around the side, you'll see this thing's only just opening up. I've had this for a couple of years now, and when it's fully open, it takes up probably this much space. It's like a football-sized Euphilia. It's absolutely stunning. You can see it's only just started opening. The heads are quite sort of shrunk in, but yeah, I will get some photos on the Instagram of when that's out in full force because it absolutely loves this position in the tank. It doesn't get a huge amount of flow, it just floats lovely in the sway there. But yeah, it grows nearly double what it currently looks like. If that's my fist, it's probably double that when it's fully out. And then the clown's house here, they live in this Duncan. Absolutely love it. It's one that I've fragged a few times and given away pieces here and there, and yeah, it grows out quick, and when it does, we frag it down a little bit more again so it doesn't overtake the tank. But these guys absolutely love it. There's actually 2 different frags there that have molded into one, so yeah, you might get a better view of this coral here. You see there's some oranges and pinks and all sorts in this. And it's kind of now, excuse the finger, all the way around this rock with loads of little heads coming up. So I'll have to trim back the stellata next to it because I don't want it to get in the way of it, or the hirsuta. But that is absolutely, true to life, really beautiful. Oh, really poor zoom in from me there, so apologies on that one. Okay, what I'll do is I'll just quickly pop this lens off as well so you can get a feel for it. There's not a lot of blue in this light, it goes bluer later, so it might just give you, oh, sorry for the adjustment. You can see some of the highlighted colours just quickly before we end the video. So yeah, when you look at this view, you can see the euphyllias colouring up and there, and just thought it's a different view of seeing the tank. But yeah, didn't want to take too much of your time up with this one. Definitely going to put some more videos out, trying to get on some live streams. But yeah, just a last shout to a couple of reefers who are in this industry that you definitely need to check out. Please check out the Reefers live stream on a Friday, 8 till 10. That is sort of carried out by 4 reefers, and they all share the videos on their YouTube channels, and that's Bearded Reef, Jade's Real Reef, Paul Fish Palace, and Moggsy's Aquarium. If you can go and check them out, check all their channels out and check that live stream out, it's great. Really love watching that. And then a special mention at the end to Carl, who is called Reef King. He's just started his channel again. Used to have a good couple of thousand subscribers. Really funny, interesting guy with some good insight in the reefing hobby. Please go and check his out and subscribe to his. He'll have some good content on there. Says it as it is, no messing around. Definitely refreshing. So yeah, go and check out Reef King as well. Other than that, that rounds it up for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.